Brouכים למפגש יולי של Unity, and from this point on I'm going to speak in English. Welcome to the July 2015 Unity Meetup. Yay! Nice! Okay. I'm gonna give you a few numbers. We already have 1,040 people in our Facebook group. We got the 1,000th person joining in last month during our meetup. There's 453 people in the meetup group, so it means over 500 are not. There's a few thank yous we need to say. First of all, to Shankar, who's hosting us, and to Ved from the game design program here at Shankar. We already started working on the next meetup. It's going to be at Jelly Button, right? Probably. We'll announce you once we figure out the date. And today we have a very special two guests, Alex and Andy from Unity, who came all the way from India. And they're going to be the main content for tonight's meetup. Of course, thank you to Oren, who's running this group. He's doing a lot of the behind the scenes. So thank you very much. Thanks to Tzachi and 282 Productions who are doing the video. And after the job. And that's it. So what's up for tonight? We're gonna have Andy talk to us about Unity, and then Alex talk to us about Unity, and then we're gonna take a break. We're gonna have some pizza and beer, and then they're gonna talk to us more about Unity. That's a problem. Yeah. All right. Let's listen to some words.
Hello everyone. Good to be back in Tel Aviv. I recognise quite a few faces and many new faces, so good to be back. Thanks for coming. Big thank you to Oded and Oren for pulling this together and keeping the meetups going. It's awesome stuff. It's good to build a community and share knowledge and network, so that's what this is all about. Big thank you to Shankar as well for hosting us tonight, so thanks for that. I guess just briefly, I look after the Middle East for Unity, I guess in terms of developers that are using Unity in the Middle East. So I am the key point of contact for the company. Got my business cards out there, so do grab one. I guess if you need to be introduced to different departments within Unity or help here and there, I can look into that and jump on that. Predominantly, I do deal with things like licensing, things like support, those kind of things. If you need added support from our expert engineers, we can look into that for your productions as well. I won't bore you for too long. It will be a full talk from Andy. I won't do too much talking. I guess I'll be there for the Q&A at the end if you have any questions. Hello? Yeah, we're good. Cool. There will be a few prizes, so pay extra attention to Mr. Touch's talk, and we'll just ask a few questions at the end. Just a couple of t-shirts up for grabs there. But yeah, Andy's got the real juicy stuff, so without further ado, I'll pass you on to my good colleague.
Cool. Thank you. My Hebrew is terrible. I know a few words. I know. I'm probably going to say them completely wrong, so just laugh or boo, whatever. Shalom. Okay. Toda. You said
Management.
Management? That's probably a rude word, right? And I know the most important, Bira? And that's it, right? That's all you need to know, right? Okay, cool. Alright, that's it, it's done. No, so most people here are already drinking, which is actually really good. So like my really bad jokes are going to come across even better now, rather than loads of groans. There's loads of beer now, later, probably a couple of hours ago. Yeah, probably everyone's really drunk, so everything's going to go so much better. So I'm going to be talking for about Unity quite a lot, but whenever I do a talk, I like to know more about everyone here. So put your hand up if you're a programmer, you write code, you write scripts, you copy paste from online, like, okay. So most people are copy paste, Google's your like... You're stuck. Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. Put your hand up if you're an artist, 2D artist, 3D artist, UI artist. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool, awesome. Put your hand up if you are you work in QA, like quality assurance, make sure everything's fine. Technically, everyone here should put their hands up. Okay, that's totally cool. But you hand up if you're an audio person, so you do audio design, development. Ah, okay. None of you have beards. I have a theory, right? Every person who works in audio and games has a beard. So you have the most facial hair. Do you play in a band?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what do you do in the band?
I drum.
Your drums. Okay, right. So it's normally drums or bass. You go to Finland, everyone puts their hands up for music and then play in a metal band. So yeah. So it's cool that one person with facial hair. It's all over the world. This is a phenomenon. You all meet up and grow beards and play music to video games and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Put your hand up if you are a game designer. So your job is to annoy everyone else on the team. Okay, cool. Put your hand up if you don't make games at all. You just saw like a whole bunch of people, free beer, and you just thought this might be pretty cool. Okay, that's fine. But you keep your hand up if you're thinking of like getting into games, to make games and stuff. Okay, that's pretty cool. So basically for my talk, I'm going to range a whole bunch of categories. So some things are going to be like code based, some things are going to be art, some things are going to be audio, some things are going to be 2D physics, some things are going to be... I'll basically talk about lots of different areas of Unity. So some stuff will be, oh yeah, this would be really cool. And some stuff will be like, I did not know anything about audio before until the drummer dude and the two people over there. But like, that looks really cool and I want to get into that. So I'd rather rather than sort of boring you to death by talking about shadows for like 2 hours, which is a really boring topic to actually talk about for 2 hours, I want to show you like lots of little bite-sized chunks and show you lots of different areas. So there's some stuff you already know, some stuff you have no idea about, some stuff you may know everything, that's cool. Some stuff that you'll go away hopefully learning more things. So yeah, my name's Andy, this is me cosplaying as Mario, as a baby. And I showed this photo to a guy from Intel, and he said he still programs on that keyboard. So like by that you can guess how old I am and stuff. That was the age where I said, Mum, I want to go make video games. She said, there's no point in making it. No one makes video games. But obviously, that's not true. So I'm a Unity evangelist. No one really knows what an evangelist is. I don't even know myself. My family think I'm part of a cult, and I've run away. And I'm a Unity evangelist, and our company's goal is to democratize game development. They just sit there like, what? Like, you Tom Cruise, you do stunts and stuff? Yeah. No, it's far from it. So basically what I do is I'm an evangelist. So I learn all the new juicy stuff in Unity, stuff that's coming out, stuff that's already here, stuff that's coming out in like long way distance, like new hardware and stuff, and then I share it with the community. So I come out, do events like this, all over like Europe, Middle East, Africa, Russia, and Iceland. Yeah. It's really cold in Iceland. And basically do talks and basically present all this new stuff. So if you're an animator, I'll come and talk to your animation. You give talks anywhere, on a boat, to a dog. I give a talk to a dog, but I don't think they're making many games. So yeah, basically to pretty much anyone that will listen, like to a hobbyist in his bedroom, to like some of the biggest companies. That's pretty cool. As well as like making games, I like playing games as well. So if you are making a game, or if you got a paper prototype, or it's all stickmen running and jumping, or it's like a fully polished like thing that's come out like 3 years ago, it doesn't matter. Just like send games to me. Like I have an email, but my inbox basically explodes every day. So like my Twitter's probably better. And that's the little Twitter plug to get more followers. Yeah. So at Unity, we basically have lots of goals. So in Unity Technologies, we have loads of different things we want to achieve. So like our main goal right now is to help developers create, connect, and succeed. And these are actually 3 really difficult things to challenge. So like the create part is we want to make like great tools and a cool engine, and you can pretty much make anything you want. I've seen some really wild things made in Unity, like a dolphin classroom simulator where you have to cheat on your exam, or an Oculus Rift, to like a game you have to be a cat, to a prison escape game in VR you have to crawl through like lasers and stuff. And basically, we want to help make the tools so you can make anything you want. You don't have to make like a 2D platform, you don't have to make a shooting game, a racing game. It doesn't matter, you can make anything you want. So you want to make those tools. And then you want to connect them. So like after you released your game, like what do you do? Like who's dying on like level 1? And who's like, how do you like make money from your games? How do you know if your games suck or they're good? Or how do you get them to multiple platforms? How do you get them on HoloLens or something like that? So that's kind of the connect part. And then hopefully in doing that you succeed. So that's basically like our 3 principles. And to do that, we make a whole bunch of stuff. I really don't like PowerPoints. This is probably my last slide. I've got 2 more after this. So we make for you the game engine, which allows you to download it, make cool games, make all sorts of content, non-games, it doesn't matter, you just make it and release it. And then basically after that, we have a whole bunch of things. So Cloud Build allows you to build your game in the cloud automatically and just email it to a whole bunch of people to test your game and prototype it and play it. And it's like a distribution thing. Analytics, who actually likes analytics? Normally people would like, I did this in, I think Texas, and the guy just spat on the floor. Yeah. So analytics, seeing how many people, like, if 99% of your players like can't beat your tutorial, game probably is too difficult. It doesn't matter if you can play your game, because you're not going to buy your game, you've already got the source code. So like, it depends about the people who play your game. So analytics to see how people actually experience it. Do they like the character with a pink cowboy hat or not? You know, like basically logging all that useful information. Ads? Who actually likes ads? Oh, okay. Because you make money from it.
Yeah.
So ads to basically allow you to either promote your game or basically say, hey, if you want to unlock a gun in the game, then watch a video ad for 15 seconds. Like people who made Crossy Road. Do you know Crossy Road?
Yeah.
Awesome. They made millions, right? And they're like 2 people in Australia, so they're very happy. Every player, which allows you to like set up points where you record gameplay footage and then share it on Facebook and stuff. The sort of harnessing social media. So like, I can make a horror game for my nan, and then basically like I know a point's gonna be scary, I can start recording. If she doesn't know it's recording, and then like she has a jump scare and stuff, so I can record the screen and her face, and then I can finish recording, and then I can get that like to upload to Facebook, like showing my nan getting terrified, right? And then people are like, wow, this game looks really cool. So like kind of these are all the things we build into one big thing called Unity, or unite them together. Sorry, that's a really bad pun. So we basically make the whole range of stuff. I'm going to be talking about this mostly, the game engine, because that's the best thing to demo an example. But I'll sort of talk about those things if I have time at the end. And again, like come up, go for it. Yeah, question.
Just a quick question. All the other ones beneath the game engine, are they cross-platform? Are they?
Yes. Okay, so this is currently iOS, Android, and web player, because we find people need to build to those things more, like console, right? It's kind of a bit trickier. Whereas these things, like you want to do an Android build and send it to someone, really easy, right? So this one, we are working on the other ones of that. Analytics will work across the board, so you can just integrate it once, and just everything gets collected on all platforms. Ads works on mobile because desktop ads aren't really, a thing. Yeah. Every player currently works mobile, but they're working on other stuff. So yeah, most of it's mobile, but like it's all branching out. I can't wait for the day we have like this magic build button, and it literally just builds to everything. That'd be kick-ass, but like, yeah, that day will be beautiful, and then my job's done. So yeah, so we got 2 sessions, like Odette, who's disappeared now, cool. So the first one's going to be kind of visual. So I really don't like PowerPoint. I'm going to actually do most of my talks actually in the editor doing stuff. So you can kind of see how you piece it together and so how to construct sort of like a scene of a game or like, interact with it. So we have the visual effects, we'll be talking about shaders and all sorts of things like that. Global Illumination, so setting up lighting because it's very, very different in Unity 5 compared to Unity 4. There's lots of different things you have to think about, like how the skybox comes into play, how reflections come into play, emissive materials and stuff, how reflections come into play. Frame debugger, which I showed this to someone in Sweden, they started crying, so I'm going to expect lots of tears, hopefully. And also he's shaking his head. So, and the sample assets as well, because we bundle with Unity, like, we have all these tools, and a lot of people are like, well, where do I go? What do I do? I'm confused. And we bundle a lot of sort of sample assets and things for you to get to grips with, like dropping a character and running around, or like lots of other things. All the example projects I'm going to show you, you can just download now. So I said that once, and somebody goes, "Well, see you later." And just went off and downloaded everything I was going to do, so you can play with that. The second session is going to be, so that's all like the visual cool stuff. Second one's going to be about audio. So a lot of people don't really think about audio in games. They basically like just make their game, and then the day before they're like, oh shit, like I forgot audio, right? And then they just kind of shove it in at the end. And really what we wanted to do in Unity 5 is kind of overhaul audio. So audio developers and designers basically, and the dude with the beard and band, can basically like integrate audio from the beginning and do some really nice things with audio and lots of effects and how easy it is. So I'll be doing that. Talk about 2D physics, which is probably my favorite topic in the whole of Unity. It's pretty awesome stuff, and I'll show you lots of things. Anything else I can think of? Yeah, so I spelled that sentence wrong. Anything else I can think of? So anything else I can think of, I'll just kind of put in there and just keep talking until we get kicked out. That's happened before. And then Q&A, AMA. So yeah, ask me and ask any question, doesn't matter. It could be about Unity, challenges, League of Legends, doesn't matter. Cool. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So this half is like semi-cut from drinking, and then this half is like really quiet. So like, and there's no tears yet, so it's all going really, really well. Great, cool. So that's my key. So I'm going to go back into Unity. So at Unity, the editor hasn't actually really changed a lot in 10 years. Like they've been making Unity for probably like 10, 11 years. Hasn't really changed a lot. but we changed a lot of things inside Unity. So with Unity 5, we basically went in and overhauled a lot of visual stuff, a lot of graphics, a lot of lighting, a lot of physics, a lot of 2D stuff, a lot of 3D stuff, audio, the GUI. Basically, we overhauled a lot of the internal engine stuff. And to do this, we basically made this example project of this lab. So put your hand up if you already got this project. Okay, so this project's completely for free, and you can download it, take it apart, use it in your games, whatever. You don't have to set bankers or anything. But we do like to see what people do with it. People make all sorts of very odd and bizarre things, which is awesome. So for example, I'm just gonna put this down. Can you still hear me? Beautiful, okay. So just a simple example scene, it's a bunch of corridors. These are all modular, so you can actually take out this whole hallway and then put it in like an endless runner or something. You have this robot dude who's just running around. You've got like, there's a whole bunch of scripts and things. For some reason there's like a slow-mo time button. I don't know why. You can see here, like for example, along the bottom, the robot's butt, right? There's kind of like a yellowy sort of hue from the ground. So there's kind of like bounce lighting taking place. I can run over to here and this door will open. There's audio. You can see in this room is actually lit with no lighting, which is really, really cool. You basically just have this big emissive block, which is then causing all the lighting through reflections and stuff. I'm going to show how you set that up with about 5 clicks, maybe 6, I don't know. Probably 7. Go into this room, we have a little jazz room. You've got like the light on the floor. And then you basically have the fading of one environment to another. He unfortunately doesn't dance, which seems like a big waste of time, I'll be honest, because you made this whole demo with his jazz music, but he doesn't dance. Like, what's the point? But you can see here he has like nice orangey hues because he's in this environment. The global illumination is taking place. Oh, and there's a guy posing on the floor as well. I accidentally left that in there. So yeah, so basically we have a whole bunch of things. You can download the scene. You can see in like the reflection of the door, like the jazz room as well, which is pretty cool. And then what I'm going to do is you can download this project right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild this room and the series of corridors around it, like in the first session. And I'm going to bring in all the lighting and stuff. Particles I miss out because they're fairly self-explanatory, but yeah, I'm going to bring that all in. Does that sound okay? Beautiful, right. So, file, new scene. That's basically what everyone does. Yeah, why not? So I need to save this scene, of course, otherwise everything will go horribly wrong. So what's a famous Israeli Tel Aviv location? How do you spell it? Oh, Shenkar! Oh, okay, Oded's not here, so Oded's house. Okay, so we've got Oded's house. So one thing that a lot of people are confused by when you go from like Unity 4 to Unity 5 is you have a big line. So what we decided to do is we decided to unify a lot of the graphics in Unity. So what we found with like Unity 4 games is like someone have like blue sky, like a red light, and then like green grass, and then yellow like characters, and nothing really like fit, nothing really looked like it was supposed to be there. So we decided to build in a lot of really easy drag and drop things that allow you to change the tone of your game like really, really quickly and really easily. So for example, every scene now begins with kind of like this skybox horizon. You can change all the colors, make that like green sky with like red for hell or something, I don't know. And you can change all those values because that's all built in. Those are built in like a skybox shader. And the other thing that we decided to do is we decided to, if I take the light and then I like rotate the light around Y, hang on, where's the light? Okay. So you can see that we also have the light, and if I rotate the light, you can see that basically the environment is going to change. You can see that just by rotating light, you can only do like a pretty cool like day-night cycle. And I have the sun drop down. You can set the hue like really low and stuff. And what that's doing is it's basically going through and it's updating all the objects in the scene. So all objects in the scene of Unity typically have kind of like around this like blue hue. So everything in Unity look blue. Now you can set it whatever color you want. And by default, it's set by the skybox. So if I find that dude, where's the dude? Where is he? Okay, let's bring him. Where is he? Okay, so he's got a bunch of textures and stuff. Let me just strip him of his textures. I forgot to do that bit. Wow. And set that to be 0. So you can see here that with this character just dragged and dropped in, so this is typically what like an object would look in from like the base. You can see he's got that kind of the blue hue around here. You can see the light. you basically have kind of like the white glow of the environment. And if I rotate the light round, like, let's do it around X, you can see that as it kind of goes to daylight and darkness and stuff. So everything's kind of automatically updated. So now it's all got the yellow tints, and then you got to here, it's all blue tints. Because we wanted people to not only in the editor actually like to do this stuff and set it up, but do it on runtime. So I've got an example scene later on, it's like massive land. And then basically like with a button, it just instantly updates like different times of the day, and you can download that and see how that's all done. It's really cool. So we have this character. He's currently called Evan, but I think we're going to call him Oded. The scene's called Oded's house. You saw it. So he's currently going to sit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to him later on. But the first thing I'm going to do is going to bring in my environment. I'm going to kick it off to basically do a light map bake. So I cheated. I've already put it in a big prefab. But basically this is exactly how you sort of like import it in. So let's bring it into the environment. And let's just set it to be like 0, 0, 0. Nice and easy. Let's go to it. Okay, I've left it. Okay. So if I then zoom in, just out of the box when you drag and drop into the scene. So all I've done is rotated the light and added in the character. It already actually looks kind of good. So you basically got a whole bunch of different elements. You've got kind of these blue tints. Like I was saying with the skybox in the background, everything's already got some sort of the same tint from the skybox. You can see here, we've got sort of like some lights. You can see here that the lighting is kind of cutting through the environment. And this is kind of like what an object would look like if you just sort of dragged and dropped it. You've got kind of like this highlighted areas. Yeah, you've got a series of tubes and stuff. Now, some people would be happy with this, and in the school you can totally drag and drop this in and ship it. It's done, right? It's a game. You just have the character running around, picking up coins and show loads of ads. Simple, sort of. But I'm not really happy with this, and I'll sort of show you a couple of examples why. So the first example is lighting isn't really realistic in this scene. It isn't. It's an indoor environment, right? But there's no like light from the outside. And what you can see here is if I turn off the directional light, all the lighting basically disappears and turns on and off. And we need to get rid of that. Because this is an indoor environment, I don't want any kind of like hues and lighting. I want everything to be lit internally. So what I'm going to do is go to this lighting panel, which has been changed completely, and go through sort of all the different elements up here. And we start off with environment. So we have the skybox we're using. It's really easy to swap that out. We have the sun as well. That's global illumination, right? We have the ambient source as well, so we're saying, do we use the skybox or do we give it our own gradients and colors and color tints and stuff? So like a cell shaded game, you probably want to do that, and then skybox, you want to do that. We can set it to bake the ambient GI, so what the lighting from the skybox is coming in, and you have a whole bunch of different options. If I scroll down here, we have some other ones. So we have real time and baked. So baked will basically bake all the shadows and bake all that content. I don't want to do that. I want my lights to be real time. And here we have pre-computed real time. So what this will do is this will take your geometry that's static, and it'll work out that if you shine a torch, say like I shine a torch to this table has an element of smoothness of how the table then like bounces. And basically here it's setting its resolution. So I think 1 is actually still pretty good. And here it's showing its CPU usage when you run it at runtime. So how expensive is it when you run? So low's good for mobile. Unlimited, I've never ever clicked, so I have no idea what it does. I'm a bit intimidated by any drop down that has unlimited as an option. Unlimited money, I don't know. And then we can also bake. So the way we change light map baking in Unity changed quite a lot. So what you can do now is you can basically kick off a light map bake. And normally you'd have like a loading bar that'll take like 3 hours or something like that. And then basically you go away and watch, like, I used to go watch Breaking Bad and then come back and then my light map sucks and I'm like, oh, okay, we'll restart it. Go away, watch more Breaking Bad. And I think in 1 month I watched more Breaking Bad than actually used Unity because you basically have that progress bar, which is really annoying. So what we decided to do is we decided to take all that light map baking and put it in the background. So you can actually still use the editor and you can still click play and test your game whilst it just pauses the baking in the background. So what I'm going to do to show an example of this. This room takes about 5 minutes to bake, which is actually like not that long at all. I'm going to bake it, and then whilst I'm baking it, I'm going to like show all the shaders and stuff on like the character, and basically do 2 things at the same time. Nice and easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my entire environment. I'm just going to set it all to go into static tag and make it all static. Yes. Change the children. And you can see at the bottom here that it's then actually going to pop up this little loading bar. It's actually going to do it suspiciously faster than I anticipated. Okay, I did not intend for it to be that quick. Okay, let's do it like bake 2. Okay, it's gonna no. It's supposed to take 5 minutes. Stop fixing stuff, Unity. Stop making stuff better, yeah. Okay, so it's kind of doing it now. So whilst it's doing that and sorting out all that geometry for how it's going to bake and how the lighting is going to be all like really nice and dynamic and things like that, we're going to go here and play with ODED. So ODED here is kind of a bit plain. Now, what I can do is I can show an example of how changing the skybox actually changes a lot of content inside Unity. So with the light, I was rotating it and he was going brown and stuff, but you don't want to ship a game with this light because that's really boring. You want your games to have really, really cool skyboxes. So I've got here a, it's got some like clouds and stuff like that. I've got here like a nice, beautiful sunset. Actually, that's not really beautiful, that's quite evil. I've got here kind of like a desert, like a yellow hue at the bottom, then kind of blue at the top. And then I've got here kind of like, it's kind of a combination of colors. So I've got some that's high, low, and different variety. I should have really got some more interesting skyboxes, I'll be honest. But if I say, let's say go to the sunny one, and then drag and drop this into the scene, you can basically see like, okay, you didn't really see much of a change, but then if I just dropped in the sunset, it doesn't change. Why? Why you no change?
Maybe it's because it's still baking.
Possibly, yes. It's funny, I do it next to a train next to an old lady and it works 100% of the time. She does not care. But then, no. Yeah, it's probably because it's baking. Okay, we'll just chalk it down to that, right? So, okay, anyway. So we'll go to ODED. So ODED looks really, really simple right now. He's kind of naked. Has anyone here been to Finland before? Okay, so when I said that in Finland, everyone was like, oh yeah, because they love going in sauna naked. So they absolutely love that. Fair enough. But we don't want to do that. We want to change ODED. So what we decided to do is we decided to integrate physically based rendering, which is actually a really, really complex sort of big topic, which no one can really sort of decide what the traditional sense of it is. It implements it in a way so that even someone who's not like a really technical artist can understand and basically fill in values and sort of change things. And people like sliders, right? People just like keep asking us for sliders, so we just add a load of sliders and stuff, which is really, really easy. So we have here, this is basically what would happen when you just drag and drop an object. And what we have here is we have a new shader called the standard shader. I actually don't like this name. It used to be called the Uber shader, which is a real like, yeah, this is a shader, right? And then it was changed to universal shader. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. That's standard shader. And I was so tempted before we shipped it, like, to go in and rename it, but I didn't want to face the wrath of like 200 developers. And what this standard shader allows you to do is it allows you to sort of build up and kind of scale up and down your object and how it looks. So, oh, it's still baking. Cool. So if we zoom into here, we have a whole bunch of values. So we have albedo, so basically what the color of our object is. So someone shout out a color.
Red.
So people normally do white, black, or red. White and black is really trolly, like, because black is just, I mean, that still looks. I did this at an art college, and like basically this huge argument burst out if white and black are colors, and it went on for about 20 minutes. And yeah. Okay, you said green, right? Okay. Someone shouted out what, like teal, and I'm like, I actually had to look up the RGB values of teal and put it in. So we have here green, and you can see here we have an element of kind of like shininess and specularness, and it's kind of a bit plastic. So what we decided to do is we decided to give you sort of two sliders. So this is the traditional kind of PBR workflow where everything's based on how metallic it is. So you have a metallic slider of 0, so not metallic, so like carpet. Carpet's not metallic, I think. And then completely metallic's kind of like, I guess, a mirror or like a really, really shiny coin. And we also have a smoothness because you can have an object that's not metallic at all, but you can have it really smooth, like let's say wood. So if I added that smoothness, basically this object is now really like not metallic, but it's very smooth. However, if I took this object and basically make it not smooth at all and not metallic at all, it's basically going to be kind of like I don't know, clay or something like that. If I made it super metallic but not smooth, you can see it's kind of a bit chromy. And if you do both, so if I like crank up both, like he's like, oh yeah, look at that. And then if you then change the color to white, he's basically a mirror. So basically you can change these sliders and tweak them. Now there are some proper values. Like, I'm kind of just throwing it in here. There's probably a technical artist here who's passing out right now. But basically, the point is we want to take something that's actually really deep topic and kind of made it and expose it to like the surface layer, allowing to tweak things. So let's say like this bottle of water, right? Like it's not metallic, it's made out of plastic, but like I want it to still be sort of like reflective. So I sort of like tone down the metallicness kind of low, and then I increase up the smoothness. And then basically it's going to have kind of like an element, so you can see kind of that shine around here and stuff. So you can actually kind of sculpt your object and how you want it to be. Now, we can also set emissions. So someone give me a color.
Purple.
Purple, cool. You're ready to tell me. Oh, that's not really. Let's do that. And then let's like set it to be like. Okay, it's like a pink Power Ranger now. So basically what he's doing, and then let's make him a super reflective pink Power Ranger. Yeah, so this could be the character in my game. So so basically the point is the emission would then like emit from this point. So if you have any bloom in your game and stuff, it's going to have that outline. And we have that a bit later on. That's basically how the corridor has no lighting in it, but it still looks really, really lit. It's all tricks and hacks. So I think that's a bit too much. Let's turn that down to 0. And let's kind of tone down the smoothness a bit and this. So we have this character here, and now he has a bunch of sort of textures and materials that we can look at. So if I pop this up, and he's called Evan, loaded. You basically your artist can create like a whole bunch of sort of like different maps that allow you to highlight different areas. So here we have his albedo map, which is highlighting all his colors. So I just click that. And basically it's instantly going to map into how the UV is on there. And he kind of looks a bit plasticky. And as well as having that texture in there, I could like tone up the metallicness. And then I can tone up like this value. Like, so by default, it's like, he's kind of like smooth chrome and stuff. Or let's say, for example, I don't want him to be smooth chrome. Let's just like drop everything down to 0. Like, and he's now basically like carpet, right? So basically you can play around with your characters and sort of like tweak and change it. Now, maybe you don't want your whole object being completely reflective, or let's say we only want like kind of some areas. So let's say you only want like, yeah, that'll do. So say like you only want these chest pieces to be metallic, but like all this red bit, like that's all piping, it's not that metallic. So what you can actually do is you can actually create like a map of your character. So let's open that up, he's called Evan. Map of the character, and it's this one. And basically what this is going to do is this is going to take that area and basically highlight sort of how red the area is. Now we base this off of like all the PBR workflows of like something like substance and stuff, where basically the more red the object is, the more reflective it is. So you can see here we've got the reflection of kind of the skybox, and then here we kind of have the white elements all the way around there, and the blue. So you can actually tone different areas to be better. He kind of looks still bad, but I'm gonna add him more. We have a normal map like normal, so I can no, laugh at that joke. So normal map like normal. So if I had a normal map, he's actually going to have all the highlights that are like basically based all around it. And you can also do the sky. Yeah, it's because it's baking. So now I can do all the skybox stuff. So like let's say like sunset. So now he's then like red skybox. Let's do like a. So you can see here like he has kind of the yellow glow from the feet and then like from the top. Let's do like a stormy day. Yeah, so you can actually like pop in the skybox and everything will change internally as well, which is really cool. And this happens to all your objects in your whole scene, so you don't have to like specifically color or light different points. You can basically just throw it in the skybox or throw it in like a reflection probe, which I'll show you later on, and color lots of areas. So our character, you can actually see kind of a bit more like the chrome sort of highlighting up there with the normal map. Now, I'm a strong believer that like we need some occlusion. So if I add in the occlusion, and then basically we now have kind of like lots of different highlights, lots of different areas. He looks badass with like 4 textures, all kind of out the box. You just have to make the art. The other cool thing we decided to do is normal map. So normal map's currently 1, and obviously it's 0 new normal map. We decided to put a slider in there so you can actually like overextend normal map, so you can like reverse it and stuff. So you can actually do some like really cool stuff. Like I saw someone use this like a character every time he eats a lemon, it like winces more and more using normal map, which is actually kind of cool. That's going to be 1. And then let's say like the inclusion, we can then see like how impactful the occlusion is. So you can add like little highlights around here if you don't want to let Unity shadows rely on. Cool, right?
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Quickly, yes.
Very quickly. Does the occlusion respond to lighting?
Yes.
So it's not just multiplying?
It multiplies on top, but it can respond to like the ambient lighting and stuff. Yeah.
All right. And I saw that in the metallic map you were using only the I channel. Is there a way to have multiple channels and how to?
Yeah, I was going to show that in like 30 seconds. You kind of ruined it. But, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's possible. I'll show you in a second. Don't worry, I've got you back. And of course, Odid's favorite color is pink. So we can then make him like. So basically, all these things stack on top. So you can now be a pink Power Ranger. Now, I think this is a little too over the top. So what we can do is we can even have a map just for the emission area. So if I set this to be white, I can basically go in, find the emission map, which is here. So you can see all like the little glowing like hands and sort of areas. Pop that in, and then if you like look at its like fist, we should really put the Unity logo on the end, not a star. Come on. And then basically, Odid, your favorite color is pink, so. And then like tone it up, and then you can see like as we turn it up.
So does this actually provide lighting or not?
Pardon?
It's not like does it emit light?
It kind of doesn't. It applies it onto the texture, but you can kind of mask it up with like a point light right stuck in there, which is kind of a trick that everyone uses. But yeah, but you can do it based on the texture. So and reflections pick it up as well. So that tiny little scene that I'll build later on. You can use it to like actually use emissive like materials to actually light your environment and stuff, like using reflection probes. And
Self-illumination.
yeah, yes. So okay, our game. Okay, he's falling right now, right? Yeah, he's just falling through space. So whilst it's baking in the corner, you can actually click play, test your game, and it will like pause the bake and then come back out. So you can basically bake in. Where I can't even see the land anymore. Okay, so yeah, he's got no feet underneath him. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over. Odid's sorted out. He's all dressed up. Let's go in here. So I still really don't like this because we have this horrible shadow here of like the lamp across the floor, and kind of everything. You notice that when I bring in like let's bring in like a sunset. Like you see all the lighting updates inside, and you can actually see kind of like the lights sort of like bounce off the top and all inside here. I don't really like this. I mean, this could be okay, but what I want to do is I want to strip all lighting out from my game and then build it up from scratch. And later on, I'll show you a scene that's better for outdoor lighting. So, because this is an indoor scene, you need to kind of like make prep it indoor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the skybox, rainbow skybox, and I'm going to set the ambient color down to 0. And of course, we have a light in here, so let's delete that. So yeah, our scene is, oh, what? Look what happened. So basically, because the emissiveness is on here like white, all the environment is set to white as well. So, Odid, this is your house. What color do you want it to be?
Teal.
128, 128. Okay. Hey man, you said it. Like, is that teal? Okay. Yeah, so you can see here, like just with no lighting in your scene, so there's no light in our entire scene. Everything's lit by these lights, which is really kind of like cheap and really nice on like mobile. And you can actually increase the emissiveness and like go and tune it up. And you can actually see like in these corridors, you have the little red lights at the end, the kind of creepy little red lights. But you can see on the roof in the environment. So you can basically use emissive materials to actually light your scenes. This, if we built it now, it would technically not sort of like calculate sort of like lighting, except sort of this area. So you can actually do some really simple sort of like lighting tricks and stuff like that. Whoa. Oh, the lighting, yeah, the lighting is failed. It didn't bake. What happened? Did the projector just give up the ghost?
Yeah, the projector needs to reset or something. We need to call the. This might be a good time for the pizza.
We need to remake the projector.
Can I ask a question in the meantime?
I can't see you, but yes.
Was that then reflected or was it?
Excuse me 1 second. Do you have a mouse for this?
Oh yeah, yeah. Here you go. So what was the question?
Was it reflective or was it
Not reflective yet. That was all diffused. I'm going to put the reflections in a second. Yeah. Because you can put in like probes.
You want to do the break?
If you want to.
Delete.
How long is the break for?
15 minutes.
15 or 50? 15. Okay, I think there's a. Hang on. Hello. Does this work?
Yeah.
Hello.
I turned it on.
I think maybe it's with the system. Everything not working.
Okay, so everything is broken.
Mr. Tribble, you get a pizza? I get a pizza. I'm on a
15 minutes break and then
Awesome. So hopefully it'll be fixed when people try to settle down. I put up this, and everyone just instantly like stops what they're doing and looks at the screen. And teaching 10-year-olds this is the greatest tool of all time because they're all like, and you show that and they will just stop. They're like meerkats. So we have here, so we kind of cut a bit short because of the illumination of the projector didn't work very well. Sorry, it's a bad joke. But basically what we have here is using, this scene has no lighting, technically, except for this emissive material. And you can see that it's actually bouncing sort of like, it's actually creating light in this environment. And you can kind of see that here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to light this environment purely via a texture. And then I'm going to light this environment purely from one light. You can actually see the difference in sort of how you can blend these sort of like different things together. But first, let's get, let's get Oded. Where is Oded? And let's put him in the environment. Where is he? Okay. So, and because it's Unity, nothing is ever in the center of the screen. Great. So it's a bad joke. Okay, he's in the chandelier, right. Okay, so we basically have him, he's running around. He doesn't have like a sprint, unfortunately, but he's kind of lit up. So with no like lighting in our environment, we kind of actually can make things look kind of really cool. So, and he's in here, and yeah, it looks good.
Why is dark when it's close to the...
Because basically these are currently bait lights. You can change them to real time, but it's kind of expensive to do. So what the better method of doing is actually falling back to reflections. So you can actually have the reflection based on it. And I'll show you in a second, like when you put reflection probe in it, it actually like looks blue and stuff. It's a better way. So I like to show you stuff like kind of the better way to do stuff rather than, oh yeah, let's put in 1 million reflections and it makes my game look better. Or let's put in this 1 trillion polygon rock and then my game looks better, but won't run on anything. So we have this environment and it's only lit by purely this texture. So we can do a whole bunch of different bits and pieces. But first thing I'm going to do is just create a simple light. Here, right? So we have a light. Now I can place it up here in the chandelier. And the cool thing about this is with Unity 4, basically what you could do in Unity 4 is to make things to have like nice lighting. You had to basically add 1 billion lights to everything and then it was really bad. So you had to like have 5,000 lights in like a scene. Whereas with Unity, what you can do now is you can basically take this light, and then as you sort of increase the intensity of the light, like increase it up, and let's increase like the bounce intensity and stuff. Basically with this light, it then sits in the middle of that chandelier, and it's coming down. It's basically bouncing in this environment, and then it's bouncing out as well. You can see that even though this light is positioned here, you can see that the orange glow of the carpet is then being bounced onto this roof around the rim here. So that's kind of like a really extreme example of the bounce. And the bounce is purely just coming down and sort of bouncing off. You can set the intensity of that. So someone pick a color, any color. Oh, blue, okay. I thought someone was going to say pink again. So if I have this blue scene, you can see here that the blue kind of light is coming down and it's bouncing in coloring area. Now this is kind of really, really difficult to actually see, and it's really, really dark. So one thing that you can do is, rather than both being kind of like blue, let's set this to be like demon red. Ugh, okay, that's horrible. So this is a scene with no reflections. When it comes in, it looks badass. But basically, with this environment, you can actually preview this environment by stripping out different areas. Because this is kind of difficult to see how the light is bouncing onto the roof. So if I open up the shaded, you can view things in like wireframe mode. You can view things in shaded wireframe. You can view things in all in albedo. So you can basically see what it's just like with the textures, everything stripped out. So let's say you want like this text and you just want to see that your artist hasn't made a typo or something like that. If you view everything in specular, it's basically going to base itself on the specularity. So like black being like no specular and then white being very sort of like highly reflective. So you go into here, like obviously the carpet and the pillows are going to be black because they're like not reflective, right? But then like you see here, like this is going to be reflective like orange and things like that, and then you have white. You can also view here the smoothness, so how smooth an object is. Again, the carpet's not smooth. Actually, this looks really cool for a game. Basically, it's like Limbo. 3D. You can also view the normal maps. This is kind of trippy mode, I like to call it. Looks kind of a bit wild. Just sort of a way of previewing that. And then you come down here and you can view all the other things about with the charts. So basically with these areas, the UVs have been set up so that these are like all wrapped together. So they're all in chunks, which is going to cause the bake time to be less because it's not calculating as much information. We can view the albedo. So you can basically see here, like, for example, you can see like the red of the carpet is influencing different areas. You can view emissive, so you can see what's actually emissive in your scene. So in this case, the blue, and kind of these parts here. And this is the one I like, irradiance. So you can actually view your environment. So you can actually see here that this red light inside here is all bouncing inside here. When it comes out, the glass is keeping it in, and then it's basically flooding around the corners here. Now in Unity 4, you could not do this, because what it would do is it would just shine the light everywhere and everything's got one light. Whereas if I take this light here and basically sort of tone up the bounce, you can see it's actually coming onto the carpet, and it's actually bouncing in this environment, and it's bouncing all around. And then if I add shadows as well, you see no difference because there's no shadows down there. So yeah, basically you can do all sorts of that. So you can see how much the bounce is. You can do this with emissives as well. So let's select this emissive material. Oded, what color do you want your house to be? So like that, teal. That's kind of purpley, right? So as you see like no real time, and then as you sort of increase sort of like the intensity, you can actually see it all bouncing inside this room, even leaking into this other room, even like coming out into this room here. So basically you can kind of see how like the environment is all, wow, okay. Your house is very, very, very flashy. So you can actually see how that light is bouncing around all inside, which is pretty cool. So let's let it to be 1 and turn it down. And I think this room looks a bit creepy. So I'm gonna just like turn that down to like light.
Pimp my house.
Pimp my house, yeah. So, I mean, this looks okay, but if I drop my character in, like, and run around, so he's still kind of pinky, right? And then, like, he can go in here, and you can see. But there's one major thing is there's no reflections. Like that vase is reflective, our robot is reflective because you can see that we have like the high smoothness. Basically, there's no reflections, and kind of reflections are the thing that everyone wants everything in the game to be reflective like a mirror, but that's not really that feasible. So what we have put in place is you can either use the skybox to reflect everything. So we could have the sky reflected in our robot, but that doesn't make sense for this indoor scene. Or I'll show an outdoor scene that does that. But what we want to do is we want to put in reflections, or points where the light is good, where everything's reflected. And nothing easier than basically a game object that does that for you. So you put that reflection probe in the environment, and you can place it at the center. So when we were studying how to do reflection probes, like, I guess the assumed way is you just stick one on every object and it will be okay. And that's kind of a really, really bad, I saw you like basically worried there. That's not a good way of doing it, because basically every probe is then going to be updating every frame what it's doing. So what we decide to do is we decide to make things a bit more simple. So we basically have this one probe, you basically just position it in your environment, and everything inside the bounding box is then going to use it. So if I take it into this middle scene here, you can see like all the like kind of like the inside reflections. So you can actually see like the vase now reflects kind of like the environment and stuff. And you can basically position it. Let's position it here. Yeah, it looks okay. So now that we have that in there, we can also take this big bounding box. Can anyone guess what that bounding box does? Yeah, so basically everything inside that is going to use that probe. So if I take that probe and then basically we can then preview it here, it looks okay. We have lots of different options. Now, this is where I point out stuff that you should not do. So we can bake the probes, and that will bake it in the editor very, very quickly, and then it will apply that on runtime. But basically that probe will never change. So it's great for like static objects and stuff. What you can do is with baked, with custom, you can interject in a probe. So let me interject in a skybox. So everything is now going to, like, you see like the skybox is now reflected in that vase. So you can actually interject in and do sort of some really cool groovy like graphics and stuff using actual like custom, like you can see like the sunset is actually like in the reflection of the glass. So you can actually do some really cool groovy stuff. Another thing you can do is real time. Now real time, our graphics program has found baking a probe in real time every frame is hands down the most expensive thing you can possibly do in graphics, because what it's doing is it's taking a snapshot up, down, in all 6 axes. It's then convoluting it into like into a sphere like this, and then it's applying to all the objects in the scene, in the bounding box, and then at the end of the frame, it's then scrapping all that content and then doing it all over again, every single frame. So whatever you do not use it on like low and mobile, because you will basically break their devices. I've done lots of tests, and yeah, it's not fun.
Can you show it with the character?
Pardon?
Can you show it with the character?
What do you mean?
The real-time probe with the character.
Yeah, I can try. So all faces. Let's see if that works.
Should I use this in bake mode in mobile?
Yes. For mobile, definitely use bake mode. So, where is the robot in the glass? Oh, cool. I can do these.
And second question:
So-
if you walk out of the pro boundary,
Yeah.
it immediately shuts off the reflection. Is there a way to feather the boundary?
Yeah, you just add another probe. I haven't done that yet. You're ruining everything.
Can you make the loudspeakers larger? And everything you made larger? Or just
What do you mean?
There's loudspeakers in there. And is it made larger or just change the color?
Yeah, we could. What, you just want to change the color of these?
Can you make it larger?
Oh, yeah, sure.
What? Everything can be made larger or smaller, not just change the color, right?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Can you put the probe like a child of the character?
Yeah, that's doable. Shall I finish this?
Yeah.
And then when I have time, I'll do all this stuff, right? So basically, we have this reflection probe in this environment, right? But like, you're not gonna have one for your whole scene because like you think it's like an outdoor scene. It's like one massive probe. Now this bounding box, I'm actually kind of happy with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna take this. I'm gonna tone down its intensity a bit because we only want to kind of see like briefly. Duplicate this probe, and then basically just position like a second one in this main corridor. So I've basically got one in this room, like reflecting the stuff in here. I'm gonna have one for this room and then one for here. And what you can do is then the probes auto blend between them. So like if you're in like a red room and then you have like a blue room, rather it pops from red to blue, basically it would then blend from red to blue. And I'll show you that in a second when I set that up. So we have this probe positioned here. What we can then do is if I like zoom out, I go into like top down view. I can then basically get the bounding box handles and then basically kind of like stretch out that box. So basically what is going to be encapsulated in the box.
There is a way to get to this point of changing the colliders or this with a keyboard and not like touch the button in the right. Yeah.
Not clicking the button.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't remember what it is. If that's probably yes. Yeah. So what we have now is like basically you have the reflections inside here. You can see kind of like the weird, creepy, like lanterns and stuff. And then inside here you kind of have the reflections inside here. So you can see like on the roof you've got like, okay, it's a bit funky there. So you can play around with these reflection probes and bake them and do all sorts of cool stuff. Now the next thing that's really important is intensity. So by default everything's set to 1, but that's kind of a bit too much. So what you can actually do is you can just take the reflection probes and say, let's tone down for like this environment here. So you can see if I like whack it up. Okay, so that's horrible. Don't do that. Never release again. It looks like that. And what I can also do is I can basically set how it projects. So by default it projects in like a sphere, but I want it to project in like a box because it's in a fairly boxy room. So if I set it to be box, it's going to be a bit more like kind of like a box. So yeah, so it's going to reflect like you can see like reflections here. You can see in the back of the room because I basically extended the box to be like one massive box. Let's turn it like that. So you can basically see it like actually hiding reveal kind of the reflections and stuff. Now the room in the middle is actually like really round, so actually I'm quite happy with that, but I want to increase the intensity of the room in the middle. So you can actually see like we have the room in the middle is like well reflected, whereas outside here it's kind of a bit more different. Now this room, it looks kind of bad compared to everything else. So game object, light, reflection probe. Of course it's Unity, so it's never where it wants to be. I'm allowed to make that joke. Everyone's allowed to make that joke, it's fine. Now let's make the box like slightly bigger. Let's actually make it so it goes into the corridors a bit. And let's also make it so that the box basically eats into this corridor as well. So you can basically see that it's actually, oh hang on. Good old Unity, right? And let's go into that probe. Where is it? So you can see here, like, okay, that pink is way too pink. Oded, what have you done? And that's really turned down. So you can basically, we can place that probe in the middle, and then we can sort of increase intensity. And if I set it to be box projection, you can actually see how it's reflecting like a box. So with round, it's basically doing a spherical one. Whereas with box, basically everything's more like a box. That's my super technical terms for it. And if I go into this room and let's say like, let's grab the light and let's say someone give me a color. I know you boarded this already.
Orange.
Well, orange. Okay. So we have like a nice orange. You can see it. Wow. Okay, that probe is like eating into this space. So that's like. Okay, that's fine.
Can you please explain again the concept of using the probe? Do you delete it once you build the game, or
What do you mean?
I don't understand the usage of the reflection probe.
So if it's baked, what it will do is it'll bake it in the editor, so it already works out what it looks like from each direction and applies that, right? Which is cheaper because it already knows what it's going to do. It already knows how it's going to project onto the nearby environment. It still is in the scene, right, as a point, because there's a script that's like reflection probe.bake or something similar like that. So you can actually update the probe on runtime if you want. So if you don't want it to be real time, where it's like every frame updating, which is super bad and no one should ever do, unless you're running like Bill Gates' home PC, right? Basically, yeah, so it still stores an object. It just baked knows what it's going to look like, whereas real time is like, it's calculating on runtime. So for mobile, we generally recommend baked. But for real time, you generally recommend like a couple, not like go wild with 700 or something like that. Or turn them on and turn them off and things.
I have another question. Can you change the resolution of the probe?
Yeah, of course. So lots of people are like, oh yeah, let's stick the probe to like 8K, right? That's my game will be 1,000 times better. It's like, no, oh, also you have like kind of the orange like bleeding in as well. So
Is
currently,
on the door.
oh yeah. So like currently resolution is 128, so I could like bake a 2K probe if I want. Every time I've done that in front of more than 4 people, it takes ages. So, and we're kind of behind in time, right? Oh yeah. So let's do a 16-bit because everyone likes pixel art games. So like, yeah, look how it looks. Actually, that looks better. No one's made a true 8-bit like 3D game. Why not? Yeah, and look at the probe, like that resolution.
What do you mean? There's Minecraft.
Yeah. Game that won't do well. Oh yeah, 4 billion. You can also see like if I change the point light in the background, like basically the reflection probe will bake because it's baking. It will swap in and it will bake that sort of like new sort of like.
Surfaces if the scene are non-reflective, will the probe do anything?
If it's not reflective at all, the probe will still factor it in because if it changes to become reflective, like on I don't know, like a game where it's rusty and you rub off the rust, I don't know, something crazy like that. You'll then have to bake the probe to factor that in. So the reflection probe still takes stuff if it's not metallic or smooth, because it still needs to reflect it. Like, for example, in this scene here, it's still gonna like reflect like the sofa, right, in stuff. You can't really see it too well, but yeah, it still has to factor in the sofa. Yeah, you can see the sofa there. So it will still reflect and it's non-metallic, but it won't be projected onto something that's non-metallic. Like the pillow's not going to reflect anything. If I literally go to the pillow and make it reflective. Okay, I'm kind of breaking it. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, the pillow has a ridiculous normal map. I don't know. I actually really like that pillow. There's a nice pillow. So yeah, so now for example, if I go to my character, currently, well now in Unity, every sort of mesh renderer has a thing here which says like, how do you do with probes? Do you like have no reflection probes and your character just runs around like normal? Simple, which basically what you do is you can hook in like a direct probe. So if you like have a mirror, you can basically say use this probe. Or if you do like blend probes, as sort of like the character, if my calculations are correct. So my character's kind of in like a weird blue scene. He's really slow. And then kind of as he heads over here, if I've done my overlap like, yeah, I need to sort of like do the overlap a bit better. But yeah, basically you can pan it out. You can even put a probe directly in that doorway.
Is it possible to have a probe attached to your character updating in real time?
Yes. In this scene would be a bit. If I have time, I'll remove all probes and do it. Because in this scene, all the probes are going to get stacked. I'll do it at the end if I have enough time. Okay. So yeah, and we have our dude there running around in the scene. And it looks kind of cool. How much time do we have left, by the way? Like 4 minutes.
At least half an hour.
Okay, cool. So you have a whole bunch of bits and pieces there. Now, like with the character that was running around, one thing that's kind of tricky. So you're probably going to all put your hand. Who here makes mobile games? Okay, so I'm going to show you the thing that caused someone to cry. So you probably have this, right? So in this game, right? If I look in this direction, I've got 259 draw calls. Now they're not called batches. I'm going to guess most of that is like shadows, because shadows are like really, really bad, right? So if they're real time. So you can see here it's like 100, 150, and then you probably do what I do when you go like, do that, and then you like turn stuff on and off, like is it that? What? No, that increased. How did that? Light, is it light? Oh, it did drop down a little bit. So basically, put your hand if you do that, and then you're trying to work out like how many draw calls it is. Yeah. So that's a really, really bad way of actually checking. So what we decided to do is, if I take my camera, and I basically, okay, let's turn off the camera on my character. So no more camera. And let's go to like here, and then I tell my camera to align with my view. So I've got what my game looks like. So that's currently 290 draw calls. So it's kind of annoying turning it on and off. So what we decided to do is go to Window, make this thing called a frame debugger. And I think our graphics program Aris literally made this in a week. Open up frame debugger. Let's like turn everything off so I actually have a bit more space. Because this project is kind of like squashing everything down a bit. So let's go frame debugger, let's dock it to the side. So the frame debugger shows every single thing being drawn on this current frame in the order it's being drawn in. So it will basically say, it will draw the objects, and you can actually cycle through it, and it actually looks really cool. So it's gonna go like, if I then open it up, so that's the camera renderer, and then it's like, it's gonna start with nothing, and then, so you can see tell the scene's not, you could already optimize it more by saying, okay, all these objects, let's actually, all these like beam strips, let's put them as like one game object. The idea of this demo is to make it more modular and piece by piece, so you can actually like strip out whole sections and put them in your games. But I guess it's a good example of, yeah, look at how unoptimized it is. Still more
expensive than the cheapest.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is more like a PC demo. Like mobile, I'll probably take all this, combine it all, and just. Wow, okay. So now what it's going to do is actually going to go to the reflection probe. Oh no, the shadows. It's going to work out from the point light what all the shadows look like from that direction. So you remember that's kind of where the point light's positioned. So it's basically going to calculate how that's on all the objects. You can see even like our little dude Oded is in here. You can actually see he's technically being drawn in like the background somewhere. You can then view here. It then goes through. It then adds all the transparency. So beforehand it was all kind of like not really transparent, and then you can go. Transparent, add all that in. It then goes through, and then it does the image effects, right? If you had more image effects in UI, it would show all that stack as well. And because everyone in Unity loves sliders, we added a slider that does this as well. So you just can go. So and if I pick a particular frame, like let's just pick like, okay, let's pick elevator B, right? Okay. Okay. What is this? That's boring. Pick something cool. Okay, elevator A. If you select that particular frame, it'll even tell you like what it's doing. So it says like, I'm drawing the mesh, so it could be drawing the shadows, drawing the UI, drawing like bloom image effect. It tells you what shader it's using. It tells you like the shader variance as well. It basically tells you all the bits and pieces. If I go down here, I have a cool little like, this is what it looks like. It tells me like what mesh I'm using, and then it tells you what like subset, and then basically how many verse indices. Basically it takes all that data and tells you what is on that particular frame. Now, this isn't at the point where basically Unity says, click this, and now your game runs faster, right? We're not quite at that stage. That stage, I guess, is going to come soon, and then Skynet will be around and stuff like that. But it does give you a pretty good idea. So if I look at this, I can already tell my listening room is in different chunks, so I can probably combine some of these chunks up together. So rather than drawing all these individual objects, it's kind of like one big object. So there's lots of little things that I could do to this. And you can kind of put it in and see sort of how expensive your game is and stuff. So the guy I showed this to was like a mobile optimization guy, and he just started crying. And I was very happy. You have a question?
Is there a way to combine this in the editor? Or do I
In
need
the
to
editor?
like for example, I want to combine the meshes. Do I need to like re-export them from the
There's a
program?
plugin. There's a plugin that in the asset store.
There's a plugin in the asset store. There's also a script that's on Unify Wiki, which is like combine all children into like a mesh, but they have to share similar materials and stuff. Our demo teams use that a lot. Or you can just slap it. Well, I say slap it in the program, right, and do it, but it's probably a bit more.
Does this only have like the spaceship environment? I think
Spaceship
other environment.
No, you said that.
The whole background is a spaceship, space station or something.
Yeah, like the whole background is basically the scene I've been sort of like working on.
So it's basically designed to be a space station type background.
Yeah, but the frame debugger will work in anything, right? Anything that's drawn in Unity, the frame debugger will work on.
And what about the characters? Is it limited to that one robot, or can it be anything?
I'll put in 30 robots for you.
But is there human characters too, or not?
Oh yeah, so you can make all sorts. So currently this is a robot, but you could bring in like I've got a little boy somewhere. Hang on. Oh, that sounds weird. Here you go. Here's my dude. So I can put in like another character. I can run him around and stuff. So you can do all sorts of different things. You're not sort of limited to just robots, unless you want to be. So with the frame debugger. So if I run around and then I get to
an outdoor background, it's all the spaceship background, right?
No, you can make anything. Like you could. So this is currently just all indoor
Make
space.
mountains and valleys or something.
I will make that in a second. So you can make mountains, valleys. You can make 2D games. You can make 3D games. You can make anything. It doesn't have to be spaceship. I'm just kind of using this as an example because spaceship scenes are best to show reflections. I find because they're all like spacey and stuff. Yeah. So with the frame debugger, you can also pause at any point and then analyze the frames there. So like if you're in a game and then like a big troll drops down and your game spikes, you can pause it and then view that frame and say, oh, the troll. Every single fur on the troll is like really, really expensive and stuff. So as time's getting on, I'm going to go back to who was asking about RGB, like
Probably me.
Probably you. Cool. So if I go to this character here, right, and I open him up and I select him. So what we have here is the standard shader, which is basically follows like traditional metallic way of doing PBR, where everything's to the R channel, the red channel. What we decided to do is to put both the metallic workflow, but also like the kind of the Pixar workflow. So we looked at a lot of how Pixar do their rendering in games, so like in movies. So like how, like if you're going to pick one company, you're going to base kind of like your 3D visuals on. It's called Pixar, right? Because their fur is so good, their slime is so good, their wood is.
Enderman.
Yeah, so we based on Renderman, right? So basically, the standard workflow is more for metallic, and the standard specular allows you to like put in. So this is kind of using the R channel, so everything is going to be like he's kind of like super red now. So you can see he's like super red, but you can basically put in sort of different values. So we generally recommend anything metallic is standard, whereas I think the sofas, I think the plants and vegetation is like, yeah, that's the specular setup. So with the specular setup, you can highlight different areas to be different colors and reflectivity. So yeah, we basically based it on Pixar. Like this, we couldn't think of a better company that does visuals, right?
ILM.
Cool. So I've kind of rattled on for a bit. So that's the end of session 1, but you've already had pizza, so let's do. I kind of need to shoot through. So that's kind of an indoor scene and sort of setting that up. So different lighting. I've kind of mucked around a little bit. So one other thing that you can do. So that's the indoor lighting scene. Now I was showing the skyboxes beforehand. So what we decided to do is our demo team in Stockholm. There's like 3 people there. They basically decided to make like kind of a huge environment. So that's made by one team, like a small indoor scene you can run around in. And this is basically like a huge beach ball, a huge environment where basically it shows kind of like different times of day. Like you can swap between cameras. You can do all sorts of really cool stuff. So this environment, first in scene view.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, you just did, but yeah, go for it.
Does Unity have good color correction tools for like post, as in you would color grade your image? Movie?
Yeah, sure. So we do have like if you go to assets, you do have the built-in like effects. So then there's like color correction, tone mapping, a whole range of stuff. we are working on pretty much the whole shebang. So in this scene, we've got like, if I go to the camera and open up the camera, we've got here like screen space, SSAO, bloom, anti-aliasing, motion blur, tone mapping. We have these currently in here. We're also redoing them all as well to be even better and actually like performant on mobile and stuff. So yeah, you can see this stuff on mobile, which would be badass. So in this scene, this is basically a series of assets that from this like sort of big environment. I can zoom out. The Z fighting kind of goes a bit fuzzy because it's not supposed to be zoomed out this far. I'm kind of breaking the project. I'm actually as far as the camera can possibly view in Unity. You can see the huge skybox grass as well. And then if I zoom back in here. So basically, this is kind of like a small environment, well, it's kind of a big environment, of using lots of different modular houses and pieces that you can use in your games. And what we decided to do is, I mean, okay, you can like go in, you can be like, oh yeah, look at these rocks and stuff, look at this cloth. But like, and you can change different times of day really, really easily. So we've got a couple of presets where all it does is it swaps out the skybox and swaps out where the light is. So if I load like afternoon, the grass is kind of green. If I do sunset, the sun is setting in that distance over there and stuff. If I then rotate like the sunset in the background, so like let's say you can have like the rays. That's just an image effect, by the way. You can stick it on anything. First thing I did was just stick it on like a 2D game, and it looked really cool. So you can basically swap in and out, but I mean that's kind of okay if you can do that in the editor. But what we want to do is we wanted to do that swapping of different times of day all directly on runtime and make it sort of like really quick. So if I go into first person mode, big beach ball. So we've got basically like a flying camera. I can fly around. I can like go in and be like, yes, I can. Let's just go to this house, and then like view. You can see like kind of the grass going in and out. You can like. It's really obnoxious motion blur. All games are motion blur these days apparently. But as well as sort of flying around, if I hit C, we have like the little flying and stuff. And if I see, I can. Okay, we're not supposed to be showing off the footsteps, right? You can see here, like we can run in, and if I hit V, you can actually see kind of like everything like, okay, the grass takes a little while to update. And then basically you can see like, and then it pops in and then it's kind of overcast and stuff. If I go into like this mode, we got those. So this is probably a better. Yeah, so you could basically do that just by updating the skybox and the light, and then it will pop and change. So I said to them, okay, that's kind of cool, right? But what if it like fades from one to another? Like, yeah, we're working on it. We just kind of need to release it, right? And they're going to work on like a blending thing, which looks pretty cool. You can download like so that indoor lab scene that I ran around. You can download and hack it to bits and play around with it, customize it. I know some people are making endless runners with it, which is kind of cool. And you can also do it with this environment. So we've got all like these different pieces. So you can take this house and like, I know like, yeah, you can download it now. I can make like a massive house. So now, why do I have it? Yeah, and you can see that you can actually see like the light rays coming through the bottom, which is kind of cool. Which is actually like better on the screen. So yeah. There is a massive house, yeah. I don't know why. I want to put the robot in the scene as well, but I don't really have time. So yeah, you can basically play around with these assets. So like a big sort of like outdoor scene and then like an indoor scene as well. So that's sort of cool, like the visual lens. I could probably talk for ages. I'll show you some links at the end. But next I'm going to do is audio. So put your hand up if you've ever integrated audio into one of your games. Okay, keep your hand up if you've done it before like the day of shipping. Okay. So then you'd be surprised how many people in London don't even bother, right? Like, and they just go, oh yeah, we forgot to add audio. Yeah, we should probably do that in our game. So one thing that we asked a lot of audio developers, like, how or why do what do you think is the thing that like stops audio from kind of being more in? And they were like, oh, we'd like better tools. We'd like an interface we recognize. We basically want to be able to go into Unity, add an echo to something. We want to go into Unity, add a duck to something, or hook it into code and stuff. So what our developers decided to do is basically make exactly that interface. So they've made this interface, which is an audio mixer, which looks kind of like an audio setup. So you have these different groups, you have different channels, you can fade them, you can tone them up and down, you can add effects into different areas. So let me just kneel a little bit. So if I run this game, I'll show you what the game looks like to begin with. So let's turn on the enemies, otherwise the game's really boring. So this is a really simple game where basically I can run around. I'm in Nightmare, and these teddy bears attack me, right? And they die. So there's zombies, zombunnies, and I think there's elephants as well. Yeah. So basically, yeah, the zombies appear. Now, a couple of things that happens is each of the points of audio that's coming out has an audio source. And the camera has an audio listener that's listening into all these audio sources. So previously in Unity 4, you had 1,000 audio sources just feeding into one listener, and it sounded really bad. So what this mixer does now is it basically takes those sources, channels them in here, and you can actually do lots of really interesting stuff. So if I go to my player, every time my player gets hit, he plays a little player hurt sound effect, which sounds like... No, don't put on iTunes, no. Okay, so you hear it in a second. So he plays hits, and then I channel that through the sound effects tab. So what you can actually see here is whilst it's running live, you can actually see like the music that's like kind of bumping here, and then you can see the sound effects that are popping up. And then as I, let's have a look at the sound effects. So I also split the gunshots, so you see the gunshots are popping up, and then as I hit, and then as I shoot enemies, they pop up. So basically you can actually see how your audio is popping up and down, which is really, really cool. Now, let me turn off the enemy because they're just going to keep killing me. And let's go back to our audio mixer. So one thing that we have here is we have all the music and we have the sound effects. And one thing we can do now is we basically, we can tone these things up and down whenever we want. So if I want my music like kind of a bit lower, we can turn it down. Okay, that's probably a little too low, so I'll leave play mode. And this is a really bad workflow because basically you have to keep pausing, going back and forth. So what we decided to do is we decided to go against all Unity traditions and build an edit and play mode button. So currently this only works for audio, but we are working on that like a global one for your entire game. So if you're like building your game in play mode, you can like leave it and it says which changes do you want to keep. And that's like, yeah, that's really cool. I've got a build of it somewhere and I'll show you later on when we're drinking. Yes, yeah. So one thing that I've got in this demo is I have a pitch shifter on the volume of the whole game. As I lose health, basically it distorts the game more and more. I'll show you that in a second, but the first thing I'm going to do is basically play around with the gunshots. So if I go in here, and then I've got all my sound effects are channeling in here. Oh, that sounds okay. So let's go to sound effects, edit and play mode. So someone give me a sound effect.
Chorus.
Chorus. Okay, I have no idea what this is going to do. So let's just like... It's kind of muffles. Depth. Oh god. Feedback. Oh, that's okay, let's... And let's tone down the drum. No, that's okay. I personally prefer echo. Okay, this gets really messy, by the way. So, and let's increase max channel. Let's increase the delay.
What about stereo delay?
Pardon?
Stereo delay.
Stereo delay. Oh, and here's a cool bug. Fully play mode, it keeps playing. Stop. Okay. Okay. I showed that to our audio team. I was like, never fix that, please, because it's the best. Let's add distortion. So like, let's increase distortion. So my gun already sounds like a bazooka. Let's tone down distortion. I really like this one. So if we add like a low pass filter and then tone up the rhythm. You can also stack them, so I'm going to have that with echo. Let's increase the... So yeah, so basically the gun actually sounds kind of cool now. So we can do stuff like that. Another thing that we have is sending and receiving. So let's say you're doing like a game with background music and then you've got like a narration. You don't want everything to sound on the same level. So basically like your character's talking, the background music, you want it to duck underneath it. So what we can do is we can basically, from whenever a sound effect is played, we can choose a receiving track. So let's say the music. We can actually change the threshold of that receiving. So you can see when I shoot, the audio ducks. But what I want to do is I want to tone that a bit more. So I can actually let's turn it up. Oh, that's not too good. Let's turn it down. And it's doing that without any code. It's really automatic. Well, the code to make the tool, but yeah, like previously in Unity 4, you had to write loads of code and do loads of stuff. Couple more things. So scripting. So I've currently got here enemy managers. Now, because the enemies are all routed through sound effects, they'll all receive the same sound effects here. So rather than like Unity 4, we had to add loads of echoes to stuff. Now everything will be echoey. I have no idea what's going to happen. Where's the enemies? So yeah, sound effects. Now, I added another thing where basically, whenever I get hit, everything gets more and more distorted. And then it resets. And that's basically one line of code. All that is it's on the player. I then basically root in the master mixer, open up the player health, find the scripts. Yeah, I'm not using mono-develops. Take damage, go to the mix, set float of player hurt, and apply basically whatever the health slider is. So I'm basically decreasing the health slider. And player hurt, I can hook into a specific kind of value. So if I go into here and I go to the pitch, you can basically see here the pitch is a little arrow, and then basically that little arrow comes here, and basically have here the pitch, overlap noise. So you can basically choose a particular effect and apply it through, and then it will automatically sort of change. Now the last thing, which is kind of weird, is snapshots. So snapshots is basically a way of saving states of your game, like the audio. So say like you've got like a room that's really echoey, a room that's not echoey. You'd have to write code to blend them, where now what you can do is you can basically have a snapshot. So I basically have game mode. When I hit escape. That sounds really lame, so let's change that. So basically, this currently on unpaused, the game sounds like this. And you see when I hit escape, it pops down into paused. And then as I toggle between them, you see the values are actually changing slightly. So you can preset loads of values and just swap between the snapshots. So let's say on paused, this goes down. And let's make the pitch shifter increase. So I have no idea what's going to happen. But you can see that I'm blending between those two things. And if you had like a room A and room B, you can basically walk from one room to another and basically blend it in the room. So that big Unity Labs, like the spaceship thing, when you walk from one room to another, they've got a script in like the big finished version that blends from like, this is jazz room, this is echo room, this is like kind of like a corridor and stuff. You can kind of see how that's all put together. The last thing before I go on to 2D physics is you have SMBs. You can basically solo a particular track. So if I play this now, you can be like, I can be like, solo just the music. I can mute like a particular track, or I can bypass it. So bypass, or so you don't have to keep turning on stuff on and on. You basically route it. I asked the audio team what SMB means, and I said, "Is it Super Mario Bros. Or Super Meat Boy?" And they were like, "No, like you're a fool." Cool. So I have kind of like one more thing to show, and then sort of do questions because we're running out of time. So that's all a lot of cool stuff. Put your hand up if you make 2D games. Okay, some of you are probably thinking like, this is totally useless for me, right? So you can actually take some things like the reflections and like, you know the shader that I put on Oded's character? You can actually put that on sprites. You can actually have sprites that reflect and do sorts of cool things like that. And you can also take all the audio stuff and put that in a 2D game as well for the audio. So basically, you can mix the two things together. But 2D is kind of a difficult thing to increase the visuals of. So we decided to increase basically the tools. So what we decided to do is look at a tough topic like physics in 2D games and build lots of out-the-box things that basically will take you a lot of code to do. So the first thing is you have this box. So let's say you want like wind pushing loads of objects. So you have to write code to basically say vary like the force and this is the bounding area and stuff. Well, we've kind of said no and just had a component which you add and it automatically has wind. So area effector will take everything inside this box and push it in a direction. And you can set different magnitudes. So here with like, the only code is to create loads of coins. There's no audio. You can see here the gravity's turned off. So basically when the coins go in this area, with no code, it's just pushing it in a certain direction. So you could do like oil slicks and slick out, or you could do like wind, or you could do all sorts of cool stuff. And I had this on my screen all day and it's actually really therapeutic. I can also take the coins and basically like, let's add more. This is boring. Here we go. Wow, okay, that was pretty cool. So you can actually see like, also some of these well, I don't know where that went. Some of these boxes have variants, so rather than everything having kind of the same speed, if we go to the top here, we have a magnitude of 5. Let's let it be like a magnitude of 20. Actually, that could go really wrong. Okay, 10. And let's set like the force variation of here like to be like 20. So basically it's going to vary between the forces. So some are going to go fast, some are going to go slow. So lots of on the yellow side, basically when coins come in, some are going to go faster, some are going to go slightly slower. But it's kind of difficult to tell. But the variation changes that value ever so slightly. So that's whole big areas that are constant. Now,
the tool to use to imitate gravity from the star, or can you have a radial?
I'm literally about to open a radial demo. Cool.
Do you have a collider on
Guys, I was just gonna say,
or just the magnet?
Guys, I was just going to say, let's do the questions at the end so Andy can get through the content, and then we've got enough time for a bit of a Q&A, because we won't get through everything if we keep asking.
So this is kind of okay for like a big box, and if you had like kind of like a triangle, it would apply inside a triangle. Basically any sort of like collider shape. So that's good for pushing in one direction. But what we can do is we can also do kind of like radial stuff. So here we have a really, really simple scene. Basically, these are just like, these are called gravity effectors. Basically, or point effectors. So basically, point effectors are from like the central point. So super simple. They're all, you see they're going to curve ever so slightly. The little particles aren't affected for some reason. But basically, you can see here like all the asteroids are like going around. So the only code in that is to actually spawn asteroids, which is really easy to do. That's okay, right? But I think things are going to be like more interesting. So let's pick like the bottom left one. Let's go into like the gravity effector. No, gravity effector. And you can see here the gravity effector is currently a magnitude of -10. So someone give me a different number. Not 0, not -10. 10. Okay, minus 4,200. So the bottom left one, it's going to have a, oh, there we go. So it's so fast, it's basically sucking it in directly. So you can actually like increase that. So you can increase the negativeness, so it's like, and it's all like firing in like warp speed. You can also basically go the other way. So you wanted 10, right? Positive 10. Let's go like positive 11. So rather than attracting it, it's basically going to push it away ever so slightly. So, see you later. So with no code, it's all supposed to be doing this. I showed this to a Flash developer, and he was like, "Why did this not exist 10 years ago?" Currently, no, because this is using. So for the 3D, we use NVIDIA's PhysX. And in this, it's using Box 2D. So currently for 2D, we put this in, but you should be able to do it by script quite easily in 3D. But it's something that like a team want to do, but they just haven't got around to doing it. So by script, it's very easy to actually do this stuff in 3D, but 2D it's kind of a bit complicated and stuff. So yeah. And this is for fun, like 1,000. That's what happens. I have no. Oh, okay, it's not that powerful. I guess it's got a counter in that it's already got a force, so like. What will it do? It just disappears. Yeah. You can kind of see it for like a split second, right? But like, yeah. So that's basically attracting. Now that's like a continuous force. So that's okay, but like, what if you want to actually like change and toggle values on like runtime? So here we have a simple scene with like a magnet. You go, it's called magnet. And basically, when the magnet goes to these coins, it's good. You can see it's basically affecting. I'm not even clicking it. The magnet's basically affecting it ever so slightly, and I can sort of go underneath and yeah. When I click it, basically you can see the magnet is then it's just switch between pull and sort of like attract. You can see them rumbling, so you could always make this like a full game. Like, okay, if I come back to Israel and I see that this is like the number one, this is beating Candy Crush, I want my cut. So yeah. Actually, this is kind of fun. But like, again, I don't really like boring values. So let's like someone give me an interesting postie. 73. Okay, cool. I'm not sure what this is going to do. Like, look at them all rumbling. Like they're all like quaking. And then, shh. So you can see with like one line of code, you can already have some really cool like physics games and stuff. And then let's set it to be like 7,000. Okay, wow. 7,000. Let's see what happens. Okay, so physics have come into play. So physics have been forced so much they're just popping. Like, oh yeah, it could be a game like clear the screen. And here, putting it all together, because basically every games company has like a Flappy Bird demo. It seems to be like Microsoft got one. CryEngine probably have one. I don't know. Yeah, so we have here Flappo, and we also have here like a bomb. And basically, it's rather than being like a continuous force, the bomb's using the audio mixer stuff to make it echo as well, which is kind of cool. So rather than it being like a continuous force, you could do like almost like a one shot. Okay, again, that bomb is nowhere near as powerful as I'd like it to be. So where is bomb?
CryEngine, Angry Birds.
All the bloom. But who will make it? So here we have 30. Let's set this to be like
600.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, very ambitious. 600, like.
Nothing.
And he survived. So that's kind of cool. But if we set this to be like minus 1,000, you can make black holes. So like. Because basically each bomb is like pulling it into one point. And I mean, like, with one line of code, you can like, yeah, physics. This is probably my favorite thing ever. Like just doing this all day. So I showed this to at school, like 10-year-old kids, and this girl was like, "No, he's so cute. Don't hurt him." And that's kind of like a big wrap up. So I think I talked about everything, maybe. So yeah, just kind of like a super quick summary. Like yeah, again, so like your physical shading. So like Viking, that's made up from those Viking assets. I mean, this is a slightly better composed scene than what I had. This is basically like this creepy doll thing, but like I don't show it because my girlfriend gets really jealous that I see the doll more than I see her. You can also do cool reflections. This is a guy called Alex Lovett, and he like got a beta version of all this software and just wrote like the most insane blog post of all time. It's like it's like 70 pages long or something. And then our developers were like, "Oh yeah, you got really you structured everything. Do you have any more information?" And he sent like 100 pager. Yeah, and basically he creates like really cool dioramas and stuff in Unity. So that's like actually in Unity. I think the robot walks, which is quite cool.
Wow.
Like that's so with the lighting system we licensed GMRX. This is the same one that's like in Battlefield and stuff, in Mirror's Edge. That's like a mobile demo we have, so you can run around there mobile, have like light there and stuff. New UI system, so I don't really talk about that, but you can have like all sorts of really cool tinted 3D UI, and it's really easy. It's all really visual, so you can like bring it in and resize it. It looks really cool. Audio, which is awesome. 2D physics, yeah, the best one, right? Exporting to WebGL as well is an option. Like this is a thing that we're working on, and we're working on it to be better. But you can like export to WebGL and have like games running around. So I'd eventually have this game and send it to my grandma. Yeah, so like we have a whole bunch of new sort of bits and pieces in Unity 5.0. We have a whole range. So I'll release it, say thousands of other updates, which is true. We have like lots of bug fixes. We have lots of other things. So we released all of that new stuff, new lighting, new rendering, new audio, new like graphics, new 2D physics and stuff. And then we're now like released more stuff. So we released a completely new networking system, which allows you to take an object and basically create it as a network identity. This is more for like multiplayer games and stuff. So, like for example, if I went into, let's go to Flap. Okay, it's called the Flap stack. Let's go to like Flapo, right? Basically, we have a whole new sort of like system of network components. Basically, what you could do is I could say Flappy Bird is now a network identity. He is now a networked object, right? And then I can say Flappy Bird is now a networked identity, and he has a transform. And I can now sync what type of transform value, like with a particular axis and stuff. I could go to him and say, okay, Flappy Bird is now in the network transform. Let's do he's now a lobby player. So you can have a game where everyone's a Flappy Bird and stuff. There's a bit more to it than that, but basically we wanted to make a component system that you can bring in. So people who aren't like awesome programmers, or not awesome programmers, people who aren't competent like to create like a network multiplayer game. Our goal is that any game can become a network multiplayer game. So you can have those components and then feed that into like the program to do some other bits and pieces.
How about a game where everyone's Flappy Birds and you build them all up?
That would be actually kind of cool. There's a kind of a game already like that called Obey, where someone's a big robot monkey and everyone's like bunnies. And you have to create rules for the bunny. It's a really odd game. So we got new networking. We also took Oculus VR, and basically put that directly in Unity as well, which is kind of cool. We're working with other people. Like you can already download and develop for has anyone tried the new Valve VR headset? Okay, you have, because we got one in the office, but basically you can already download the SDK for that, but no one's got one. So yeah. So we're working on VR support for all the things like HoloLens and stuff like that.
Do you have the STEM one?
The what one?
The STEM VR.
HTC Vive.
Probably STEM VR.
STEM.
Steam. Oh yeah. That is the HTC Vive. Yeah. Yeah, we have a plugin for that already, but probably won't put it directly in the engine, I don't think, because it's not really serious. Yeah. Crunch texture support. So basically, that will take your assets or your textures and basically super crunch them down into a really, really small size. It will kind of take the quality and kind of shoot it a little bit. But if you're targeting really low in iPhone 4 or Android devices released 10 years ago or something crazy, crunch is probably a nice way to actually get it small enough in the devices. 1,000 bug fixes. Yay. Pardon? Let's try it. Okay, let's take Flappy Bird. Let's take his sprite. So currently he's compressed. Let's crunch him. So he's currently 16 kilobytes. Actually, this is a really bad example. Okay, let's crunch him anyway. Okay, he went from 16 kilobytes to 3.4, but that's not. He's already optimized, right? But okay, actually, I don't really have time. Quite small, right? But the quality does kind of suffer a little bit. There is a little bit weirdness sometimes happens. As well as all that, we put our roadmap online, and basically we had some balls to basically actually set some dates of when we're going to release stuff. And we also have this whole on track, at risk, delayed system. So Android ETC compression, 2D sprite pack improvements, all this stuff that's green is this is going to get in. So it's orange, defer reflection programs, screen space, ray trace reflections is at risk, but we're working on it, and hopefully, currently it's in that category, and then if it's not likely to ship in September, it will just go into this next one. So we have the stuff that's directly in there, and obviously these lists will grow. And then we have all the stuff that we're working on, which we don't necessarily have a defined release for, because we've got them working, but we need to now tidy them up and make them look nice and make them usable and stuff. So whole new 2D tar map system, generic IK, Linux support for the editor, distributed LAN lighting builds, image effects, nested prefabs, iOS 9 support, the Nintendo 3DS. So I think we're the only engine outside Nintendo who will support it. Probably. I don't know. HoloLens as well, WebGL 2.0. So that's all the stuff we're actually making, and we're actually writing code. And research is stuff where we want to do this, but we. What?
Is that the X up there?
Yes. So these are the stuff that we want to make, right? But we're kind of at the design stage, because we normally design the features from the front end, ask feedback, and then when our line of code is written, it then moves into this one. So this is stuff we want to take the past system and completely redo it, and I think redo the train system, which we're planning on doing, and visual scripting as well, which we're planning on doing. But like we kind of like want to beef up all this stuff. So you can look at it, like it, you can recommend stuff. You say, hey, why doesn't Unity have a make my game button and stuff like that? Visual code. So it's in the design phase because when we do it, we want to do it right. Oh yeah. I think there's already support for that.
It's not I know it's the top.
There's only 2 links, so I think we already. I'll use Google, the greatest tool of all time. Yeah, so yeah, you can Google it. Or Bing it, I don't know, it depends which company you're into. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But you can build to like all these platforms, which is cool. I'm working on HoloLens, which is going to be awesome, 3DS.
Did you try HoloLens?
No, I've tried all the other, like the Valve stuff, and they're cool. I haven't tried HoloLens though.
What is whether Valve or Oculus?
What's my personal opinion?
Yeah.
The Valve stuff, by far. Because the Valve stuff, you can actually walk around in the room, right? And the tracking is like, on the Oculus, it's like got like a 0.1 second delay, like tilt your head, and it's like, it's kind of like a little delay. So a lot of people get sick. Just you tilt your head and the response. The Valve stuff is like pretty much 1-to-1. Like, and the controls are wireless, so you can do all sorts of really nice stuff. It detects you doing a forward roll, like it's actually really kick-ass. And that's kind of like it. We're going to do a Q&A, I think. I've covered a whole bunch of things. If there's anything, I'll try and answer your questions. If not, just get my email or Twitter or Hotmail, I don't know, PayPal. Pardon? Yeah, I was using Sublime. That's because I personally prefer Sublime. I'm one of those weirdos who doesn't like autocomplete. Yeah, because it's just... Yeah.
We'll do 10-15 minutes for Q&A, is that okay? Yeah. Sorry, Daniel, about it. I was just thinking we needed to get through the content and stuff. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, guys, go for it. We'll do a bit of Q&A.
What? Sorry. Yes, eventually. Yeah, so that's our plan. So with RTCPP, we want to roll out RTCPP to lots of platforms that we can't update mono directly. So that's like iOS, Android, there's a couple of other ones. And then we can update like .NET and stuff. It's like some legacy thing that, yeah, so eventually yes. But yeah, that's probably on our roadmap somewhere, so yeah. Probably yes. Hang on. Never mind.
Trust.
Yeah, it's on there. It's in the research, but I'm sure they're writing code about it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
One of the things we are using is some sort of introspection for the frame debugger. For example, when dynamic batching doesn't work, we have no idea why. And there are many things that we would like to know why the frame debugger is showing things the way it is. Sort of introspection, I guess.
So you basically want a way to
know why Unity is rendering things. Maybe it's not with the frame debugger, but for example, we tried doing dynamic batching and it didn't work. And then we went searching on the forums and it said do this and this and this and this and this, and then it worked. But Unity wasn't able to say we're not doing dynamic batching because.
It's partly, I mean, it might be on just like the design end because like, so Unity's not like Terminator. It doesn't like have thoughts and things. Well, not yet anyway. But like, so I think the tricky thing about that is defining what you actually want to be dynamically batched and what you don't want to be dynamically batched. What could be a nice thing, is you tag certain objects. I want these to be dynamically batched, and then if it breaks that batch, so you basically, okay, so you take Flappy Bird and you say select Flappo. You select all the Flappy Birds, and then you there's a little thing here that says, I don't know, like this is in this batch group, right? And then if it breaks that batch group or one title goes loose, like a sheet goes loose or something, then it would basically then like say, oh hey, like this just happened and it happened on this frame and it happened because of Y. That would be cool.
We basically were guessing because Unity is not open source. We understand why, but it's a black box. And we want some way to look at some of the reasons. Sometimes it feels like it's not doing what it's documenting like it's supposed to do.
Voodoo. So with I mean, so that's current. So those Floppo birds are like currently being batched, but you can't actually see them because it's not currently batched. So yeah, that'd be a nice thing to have. I mean, that's one thing I can. Hang on, let me just write it down so I can remember it. Oh, my to-do list. So like, tag items for batching when batch breaks pop up. You could probably do that via the scripting, I'll be honest. You could probably extend each object to basically say, tag to this group and when it breaks. There's probably an API somewhere that allows you to do that. It doesn't tell, well, it doesn't tell you directly. Yeah, that's something that you could do, technically. Yeah, let me add it down. Like, give me your, like, what's your email, by the way? Taxisoft.
Like tactics. And no, A is
and one S.
Oh, this is one. No, yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, I'll ask him. I'll ask a team.
One S.
Why no batch?
One is
Oh, okay. Cool. 10 hours of batching and batch breaks pop up. Why no batch? So you could, yeah, technically it's feasible via like editor scripting because editor scripting allows you just to like change like whole, well not change whole areas, but like build whole new areas, but also like modify existing areas. So like you could probably do loads of cool stuff with the free debugger and that. Like, but that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. That'd be a pretty cool thing to have. Yeah.
I guess yeah, you can look into that. I mean, beyond that, we do have kind of added kind of advanced level support, source code access, read-only source code, stuff like that. So those things are available. So just, if you want more information, send me an email. Be a breakdown.
You can ask Alex about the commercial stuff about Unity.
More on the commercial side, but Andy's the kind of tech side. So, yeah.
Well, they're flying birds up side.
Yeah, flying birds up for professionals.
Oh, you have a question?
I have a short question.
Okay.
About the frame debugger, I noticed everything was different renderer.
Everything was different?
The frame renderer.
Yeah.
Do all the features you showed us work on direct, on forward rendering as well?
The reflection probes are a bit different in how they stack, but most of them should
exist.
Yeah, like those things will exist in forward, but like there may be a couple of things like reflection probes. We need to like sort of like tweak a couple of things here, but it's not. It won't like when you switch to forward, it won't be like bleh, like. You can't use reflections at all or something like that. It'll be like you have to change a couple of things maybe, as you would have to do if you switch one platform to another. But like, yeah, so yeah, I was doing it all in deferred, but like technically that's all generally feasible going forward, maybe like through different tweaking and stuff. It depends exactly what you...
I was just wondering about the features themselves.
Oh, okay, cool.
Two shading questions. One, does the reflection support anisotropic anisotropic?
They should do, yes.
And secondly, do modules for caustics?
What's your example?
Which are very, very heavy in traditional 3D rendering, but mainly through Loki. An example is, for instance, you have a table and a glass water.
Okay.
Would it be able to create caustics?
You want to create a table in a glass of water?
No, it's for... you asked an example where caustics would happen in 3 lines. Table and glass of water.
I can't read. So you basically want like something like that, right?
No,
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways you could do that. You could do, technically with reflection probes, that could be possible. You'd have to trick some bits and pieces, but that's just making games, right? It's just tricking stuff. There's another thing that we basically have implemented, which is the command buffers. So basically what command buffers allow you to do is they allow you to interject different like graphics with different changes and things at certain points of like the rendering timeline on a frame. So like you can basically say at a certain point, take this, amplify it at a certain point. So for example, if I like, Google's awesome.
You can switch that to English. In the right direction.
So like all the green points are where you can interject like basically a command, or basically interject, say like I want this to happen at this particular stage. So for example here you could just go in here and you could throw in sort of different examples. So technically that could be possible using command buffers because they allow you to do lots of really naughty stuff on the rendering side of things. Technically it's possible, yeah. There's lots. Yeah, kind of.
And another question: are you here for node editing? Creating advanced materials with nodes?
That is planned, but it's not like, yeah, that's something that's planned to be done, and it's something that we're like talking about doing, but it's like not soon. It's probably the best way I can put it. Something I want to do. So one thing that we are wanting to do quite a bit is make a API called a playable graph, a graph API. So what that graph API will be allows you to do is allow you to create node-based systems. So like scripting or material or like cutscene or AI systems and stuff. And what we decided to do is rather than like kind of creating one node-based system and then creating another one based on that other node-based system and stuff, we'd rather create the whole API first, then create systems based on that API. And that API actually comes out in September or 5.2. So we can say, here's the API we're going to use to make all this future node-based stuff. You can now play with it, right? And then some madman in now is going to create like basically 10 features because that's normally what happens whenever we release anything. So yeah, basically, with the commandments you could do like decals and stuff. It's kind of cool. So yeah, like yes, technically eventually, but we want to create like the foundation for doing that sort of stuff. So something we want to do, but like yeah, we just haven't got around to doing it yet.
You have got Shader Forge right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, like we have Shader Forge and like made by Yuki Homer, but like it's on the asset store and you have to pay like
$100, I think.
But it's on like sale all the time.
Yeah, it's always on sale. It's one of the popular sales.
3D particles.
Yeah.
When it will be available? I didn't saw it in the roadmap.
So like sprites?
No, like the particle system doesn't have 2D physics support or 2D support at all.
Right. Okay.
So I'm using the playground, but I want to know when it will be available for inside Unity himself.
So you can already load sprites in, but you wanted the collisions?
No, yeah, 2D.
Not yet. But we have a roadmap.
Yeah, I didn't saw it in the roadmap.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I know that we have like a particle system section.
Yeah.
Alright, let me add that to the list. So like yeah, and you're on Twitter or something.
REFAEL. No, EAL. Okay, I will write it. No. Look. Yeah, it'll be easier.
Okay, guys. Well, while Daniel does that, we're gonna just do. We've only got a few minutes left, so we've got 3 T-shirts. We've got a medium, a large, and an XL.
And a house job.
So I guess the first person that answers the question can choose, and then it'll just be a bit of potluck, really. So sorry about that. Another caveat is I'm going to give the T-shirts to Odin and Oren, and I think they'll distribute them to the winners at the next meetup. So we'll probably just jot down your email address and name at the end if we kind of meet up with you. Just get those details so these guys have got them, and then we'll get you the T-shirts. But yeah, we haven't got much time, so if you got that down, Andy, you good?
Maybe, yes.
Yeah, cool, excellent.
Can I enter the T-shirt draw?
You cannot enter the T-shirt draw, Andy. No. Sorry, mate.
Can the cameraman? Because he's recorded everything, he knows.
Everyone can enter the T-shirt draw, yeah, apart from me and you.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So the way we usually do this, don't shout out the answer. I'll try and spot first hand that goes up. Andy, if you can help me on that, that would be great. Okay. In fact, you've got to be in charge of that because I'm reading out the question. So here we go. So first one. Let's have a look. It's quite early on in the presentation. Which 3 platforms does Cloud Build support? Yes.
Android, iOS, and
No.
Web.
Okay.
Break Alex's rule.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, right, we'll move on. Sorry, man. Yeah, this wasn't quite right. Let's try another one. In Unity, what is the global Illumination middleware called? Yeah? Yes, spot on. Do you want medium, large? Yeah, medium. Come and grab me at the end, we'll get your details down and stuff. Nice one. Right, lovely, that's one. Medium's gone, we've got a large and an XL now. So, alright, what genre of music was being played in the Unity Labs music room? Yes. Jazz. Cool. Grab me at the end now, we'll get your details. Alright, let's try this one. Okay. When Andy demoed audio, what were the 3 different enemy types called?
Zombie, Zomber, and Elephant.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Right, so we're going to have to wrap up actually, because I think, is that right? Yeah? Yeah.
Right, I want to thank
you,
again Andy and Alex for coming here. That's it. See you next month. And if a few people, like 5 people, can help us clean up afterwards, that would be very, very helpful.
And we'll be at casual.